of like lecturers were talking about the process of like coming up with ads and coming up with ideas for campaigns, and had a look at all these like billboards and things as case studies where they had like 3D stuff coming out of billboards, and there was just sort of a little more room for coming up with something new and colorful, as opposed to the other directions that were options at the time were like finance and accounting and investments, and they didn't really have that aspect at all.
Right. So so what did some of your lecturers, what's one takeaway you remember from your studies in terms of something that you keep in mind in approaching your work? There's got to be something.
Dude, I'm gonna be really real with you right now. when I was studying, which relatively speaking is not that long time ago, there was basically nothing digital was being taught at university level.
Really?
Yeah, literally. I think back, and the only thing that I can remember about like sort of the pay-per-click, like social media advertising, Google ads, the only thing that I learned in a course was one of the students gave a project, like did a project presentation on Google ads. Back then it was still AdSense, the Google search ads. And that was it. Like we were learning about billboards and magazines.
So you learned more from a student than from your lecturers in terms of what you're doing right now back then?
No, at that point. Since then it's been YouTube, and we've been like figuring things out and like learning other things outside of, but yeah, I wouldn't really say the academic background is really what's making the difference.
Do you think that's a mark on Stellenbosch? Because if you went to a design school, which they had around Stellenbosch, that's why I wasn't entirely certain if you actually went to Stellenbosch. Do you think that's a mark on them for not realizing the importance of digital advertising whilst you're teaching students who are going into the industry?
Let me start off by saying I have a lot of love for the university.
Hey, man,
had a great time there. You and I both, like, no hate. And I'm not sure how other universities are doing it. And I'm not sure how it's happening right now. I don't know what's being taught there. This was like, I graduated 2017.
Right.
So, things might be different now. But at the time, I would say at least some technical knowledge about this sort of thing would have been helpful. But that being said, like the general stuff about like how consumers' minds work, like the advertising theory and like the business strategy and things like that are kind of timeless, regardless of which like sort of platform that you put yourself on. You're still advertising to humans. So that was useful, but yeah, man.
Yeah, you knew how to use Adobe like back then. Would have been pretty good. So tell me some of you said, what are some of the timeless concepts in advertising? If you were to educate me in 60 seconds, what would you recommend my approach be in trying to people?
I would recommend some really good YouTube tutorials.
Yeah, that's
preferably by someone in India.
Really?
To be honest.
Okay.
That's where the good info is. Like
that's actually pretty helpful.
Photoshop or whatever. Like
so that's it. That's your class. That's the semester. Who found the best YouTube?
I mean, that's just the thing. Like I can give a lot of insight sort of to the industries and the clients that we've worked with. And we can sort of give a lot of advice if like, okay, for this consumer group, this is the budget, like, what is the best to do in that situation.
Okay.
But everyone's situation is different. So if someone asks me a very general question like that, it will be kind of hard,
Yeah, I feel you. All right, yeah, fair enough. So let's talk about some of the projects you've been doing. What's your what's your latest campaign right now? And then we'll get into the broader work. Yeah.
Yeah, so we recently moved to Cape Town. Like I said, we started the business as well. I started the business, but we ran the business in PE for quite a while. Nelson Mandela Bay side. So yeah, we recently moved here, and since we've moved here, things have actually changed quite a lot. Like where back then we were very much like it was us and the client, whereas now there's really so much going on here that we're really getting to work with some really cool people.
Right.
So we recently worked on some TV commercials for Truworths and Ladies, which I thought came out super cool. Like
Right.
we got to really do some dope VFX on some of those things. And then towards, remember, it was recently-ish, but probably one of my favorite projects we did with Reebok. We did some animation and some video stuff there that I think we're both quite proud of how that all came out.
Yeah, with Reebok, that's quite a big get.
It was a fun time. What we really appreciated is in terms of brief, they were quite open. So when we started coming up with ideas, and like we could basically just get into it, like there wasn't that much like red tape and checking this and checking that. Like we could just be like, this looks dope, let's do this, let's try this, and it all just came out really cool.
So what are some of the pitfalls that you'd warn, like in a cautionary tale type of way, to aspiring designers? What should they look out for? You know, because you might all be starry-eyed, but what are some of the challenges you're facing now?
I would say keep the starry eyes, man.
Yeah.
Like keep dreaming. I think regardless of what kind of path you want to take, and I can't speak for everyone, but it's certainly been the case with us. Do something that even when it's going to be difficult, it's going to be something you want to still be doing.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's pretty.
And then especially for creatives, yeah, it's like it can get hardcore out there. Like even if it's good now and good next year, like there's bound to be like a week or a month or a year or 2 years or whatever the case is. That you might not be getting all the applause that you need to keep you going. So make sure what you're actually working on is the thing that you want to be working.
Okay, so how big is your team there? Because it's you two at the top, right? And do you have any people working with you guys?
Sure, at the top.
Yeah. My nigga, we made it.
Shout out for that.